What's up, everybody? Good morning. It's time for another pass coverage Thursday, and it didn't go all that well. I think we all know that. Brock Purdy tore us up through the air, and while it's enough to just say that, I want to figure out exactly who he tore up so we can understand it on a little bit of a deeper level than just, oh, we gave up a lot of yards. I want to try to get to the bottom of this, and the results are not terribly surprising, but I think it's good to take a step back and really look at this data with every passing week so we understand where the problems are. So let's figure this out, starting at linebacker with Bobby Wagner, who got targeted, I believe, 3 times in this game, gave up 3 completions, and it went for about 42 yards. So he got beat up with the yards after the catch, especially, and his season has continued its, I would call it a little bit of a downslide. I think it is getting worse. I think that things are getting rougher for him. I think this is evident from watching the games as well as looking at the numbers. And while this season will not end up being as bad as some of his previous seasons, clearly we're seeing that we do not know how to handle Wagner's deficiencies in coverage. We do not know how to mitigate what he cannot do the way the Rams did. I think the Rams did a pretty good job last year of just not putting him in those tough cover situations. We don't know how to do it, and I'm really disappointed about that because I thought when we brought him back that we would have an understanding that, hey, the Rams knew how to use him a little better than we did. Let's emulate that. No, we're using him like he's in his prime still, and while it's not a complete disaster, it's bad. And honestly, it's getting to the point where it's bad enough that a lot of Seahawks fans are starting to think bringing Wagner back for 2024 is not going to be worth it because whatever he gives you in run defense, he gives up in coverage. Jordan Brooks, on the other hand, I think he gave up 1 completion for 5 yards. That's it. So, in the plot twist of the century here, Jordan Brooks has become a credible cover linebacker. I don't know if I would trust him in coverage on a repeated basis, but by hook or by crook, he's holding up. He's giving up completions about the same rate that Bobby is. In fact, I think if you account for injury time, it's basically identical, but Brooks is only allowing 320 yards on the season, whereas Wagner is allowing 460. And obviously, a lot of those short completions still go for first downs, but this is definitely indicative of Brooks getting better. That's it for the inside linebackers. Let's go to the edge rushers here because the Niners actually attacked our edge rushers a decent amount in this game. Boye Mafe gave up like 20-something yards in coverage in this game, a 25-yard completion on a screen. So they went after Mafe. They tried to go after Taylor with an attempt, but it fell incomplete. So Darrell Taylor sitting on that nice 68.7 QB rating allowed. And Derek Hall gave up a completion in coverage as well. 11-yard pickup for the 49ers. Not the end of the world for sure, but it does highlight the fact that the Niners did something that most of these other teams are not doing. They got our edge players into coverage and they went after them. That's 3 times in one game. Substantial. All right. So that's it for the edge rushers, but that's more than usual. So at least somewhat notable. Cornerbacks. It's not terribly bad here overall, I think. Woolen, I think, got targeted 4 times and gave up, let me get this right. Yeah, 3 completions for a grand total of 28. Yeah, I'm sorry. 26 yards. My bad. 26. That's totally fine. Like, that's winning football. When you are playing the Niners offense and your starting cornerback gives up 26 yards in coverage, that's good. The problem with Woolen is elsewhere, and we all know what that problem is, but I can safely say that after some bad moments, Woolen has really come into his own as a cover corner this year, and he's not really dropped off at all in that area. It's just these other areas. Witherspoon got targeted once and knocked the pass down, and then he got hurt, and that was that. So not much to say there. He looked like he was going to have a good game, and then he got hurt. Bummer, as they say. Mike Jackson had to fill in for him substantially. 5 targets for a grand total of 2 catches, and I think it was, let me make sure. Yeah, it was 55 yards. So he gave up basically one really big play, That was most of it. I don't think he played a terrible game or anything. I mean, he's a backup. What can he do? He's playing maybe the best offense in football. He's a backup cornerback. He does what he can, and at the end of the day, there's a reason why he struggled to get on the field in the preseason. He's not that good of a player. This is not the reason why we're having problems at the end of the day. 94.7 QB rating on the season for Mike Jackson, which I think that's a fair expectation for a guy in his shoes. We had no Trey Brown. Kobe Bryant played, I think, one snap on defense, but didn't get targeted. Artie Burns did get targeted. He gave up one completion in this game for 8 yards, and then he got hurt too. So Artie Burns, I mean, good to see that he's still alive, I guess. But this is not really where the problem was. Mike Jackson gave up one big play. Wagner got beat up a little bit, but the real problem came at the safety position. And this is not something that should be shocking to anybody who watched that game. Jamal Adams got targeted once, but it was a big once. Yeah, you guys know the play. He gives up a 54-yard touchdown to Deebo Samuel in coverage. And 2 weeks ago, I was sitting here discussing how good Adams was playing in coverage so far. He wasn't giving up big plays. He was actually locked down in coverage. He had given up to that point, I believe, like 80 yards in coverage all season. Yeah, he had given up completions, but they were all short. They didn't matter. Now, 2 weeks later, we're kind of at the point where people are calling him Blitz Boy again for good reason. A lot of the time people call him Blitz Boy because it's a dumb meme and it doesn't actually, it's not a thing. It's like people are just saying it to say something. But no, he's turning back into Blitz Boy, the guy who can't cover. And I'm not saying it's all his fault. He's not supposed to be in those situations. It's our defense's fault that he's 40 yards down the field playing coverage on Deebo Samuel. But it's still bad. I mean, however you want to put it, it's bad. 111.7 QB rating against, and yeah, we've gone in the bad direction here. Quandre Diggs got targeted a couple times in this game, gave up 2 completions and 40 yards, which doesn't sound that bad, but for Quandre Diggs, it's actually kind of a problem. When you're not making plays, giving up pretty much anything of substance in coverage is going to be a problem. So, I mean, here we are with Quandre Diggs again. I know some people out there still defend him, but I'm starting to really not understand why he would be coveted back on this team in 2023, or 2024. Like, this was the only thing he really had going for him. He was keeping things clean over the top. There was nothing clean over the top in that game. And finally, Julian Love targeted 5 times in this game. I think it was 3 completions. Yes, it was. And it went for 99 yards. So Julian Love gets toasted again. He had actually had a pretty good streak of games where he wasn't getting beat up. And then he just got completely destroyed. Fortunately, on one of those completions, he forced a fumble. So he kind of made up for it. And he also had an interception. So it wasn't all bad. But for a guy who primarily plays safety like Julian Love, to have given up almost 550 yards in coverage is bad. Like, safeties typically do not give up that much in this defense by design. And I know he plays other positions too, but this is bad. 99.9 QB rating allowed for Julian Love. All right, that's it. See you guys later. Go Hawks.